Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to tonight's all-new live episode of Late Night Q&A with ZodWriter. Tonight, I have the pleasure of welcoming one of the iiRcadians and a very passionate home arcade enthusiast, Jeff Rainwater from Rainwater Games. Welcome, Jeff.
Thanks for having me on, Zod.
Man, this is a long time coming. This is something that I've just been waiting to do. I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that I'm here and that we're going to be able to talk this out and get the story straight about the iiRcade, because I think a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about what the iiRcade is, what the iiRcade is trying to be. But one thing that you and I can agree on 100% is that the iiRcade is the future.
Absolutely.
This isn't anything that people in the home arcade space shouldn't know already. But there's a lot of people that are, I don't want to call anybody ignorant, but there's a lot of people that just don't know on the outside. And you're looking at this hobby and all you see is a bunch of arcade one-ups and you don't see anything else. So,
well, yeah, you go to talk about this. You go into like a Walmart or whatever, or a Sam's Club or a Best Buy or whatever. You don't see an iiRcade there. You just see the arcade one-ups. So when you think 3/4 scale home arcades, that's what you're thinking about, right? Is you see the arcade one-ups. So, yeah, absolutely. I mean, unfortunately, they just don't have that retail presence, so people just don't know about it. You can go into just type in arcade one-up on Facebook, and there's groups that have like 50,000 people in them. But you don't see that on arcade. You've got one group with 7,000, and then a couple that are like 1,000 or whatever, right? So this is just a much smaller audience, but it's you're right. I think it's the future. This is definitely the way to go. You can only fit so many arcade one-ups in your house.
Yeah, exactly. And we're going to talk about a lot of that tonight. We got Rich Wadello here in the chat. Great to see you, man. He says, what better way to spend my birthday than with Zod and Rainwater? Well, I feel honored and glad that you chose to spend your birthday here today with me, where it is also my birthday. So I'm super excited about today. I'm glad that it's your birthday. So happy
birthday to you and Rich Wadello.
And and like I said, this show was so important to me that I wanted to do it on an important day. And what better way to do it than on a day celebrating the day I was born? So that shows you how passionate I am about the iiRcade.
Thank you for sharing your birthday with me.
And how glad I am to have you here. So that's where we are on that. And we got happy birthday. So I guess your name is Brian, and you're turning 50. Oh, wow.
Half a century.
Oh, that is something. Let's see. Yep, makes it sound worse. We got Hollywood Polo here, who says hi, everyone, and it's good to see.
What's up, Hollywood Polo?
Just trying to get through some of these here before we start getting into our big.
Who is Fart Breath? Do you know who Fart Breath is?
I do not. No.
Oh no, Jeff, did you bet on the Bengals? Okay, can we talk about football for a hot second? I lost my quarterback. Okay, you guys know my team. You know my team, the Seahawks. We lost Bobby Wagner. We lost Russell Wilson. They traded them all away. My team's going to suck this year. I guess I got to get a Denver Broncos jersey or something. So feel sorry for me, guys. My Seahawks.
I guess.
You're in trouble.
Guess. My man, Eyes of Match, buddy. Happy birthday, Zod. Thank you so much. Let's see. Corey says we want Coke. Good to see you, Corey. Glad
you want here. Coke? He said cake.
Good to see you all here.
Maybe he wants
I'm not Fart Breath. I promise. I'm an arcade. I'm arcade Haley though. Just made a new alt account. Okay.
Arcade Haley. Good to know.
Is Fart Breath Sharon Peters alt account? I don't know.
I thought it was Zohar at one point, and so I actually was flirting with Fart Breath, thinking it was Zohar, but it's apparently not. So he says it's not him. So,
Coke is good, but I'm drinking sparkling water. But yeah, we got I, there's a lot of things out there in the home arcade community that are currently disturbing me, Jeff.
Okay, what's getting under your skin?
And
Let's talk about this.
One of those main topics is a title that's been available for the iArcade for quite a long time, and that title is none other than Dragon's Lair. Dragon's Lair is one of the 11 included pack-in games. When you purchase an iArcade, you get 11 games automatically included. And 2 games right off the top on iArcade that could get that are well.
Let me ask you this.
I can't even get it out. I'm so frustrated over this.
Let me ask you this. How much is the Dragon's Lair going to be for Arcade 1-Up? What is it, 600, 700 bucks?
I have no idea. I could care less.
About the same price as an iArcade, roughly, right? I hate
the fact that this is even a thing, that this even is happening. Because when I look at Dragon's Lair, and I get a lot of flack whenever I bring up Dragon's Lair and other home arcade YouTubers chats, because when people say, "Oh, it's coming out for Arcade 1-Up, I can't wait," I always say the same thing. I say, "Well, Dragon's Lair is already available on the iArcade, so I don't get it." And they say to me, "No, you don't get it, Zod. You don't understand. It's coming out for Arcade 1-Up, and it's going to be the shape of the Dragon's Lair, and it's going to look like the real Dragon's Lair." And I sit there and I scratch my head and I say to myself, if iArcade wanted to make a bunch of money off of you guys that buy every single Arcade 1-Up, they could make an iArcade in the shape of a Dragon's Lair and put Dragon's Lair artwork on it and sell it to you. But would you buy it? I don't think you would. And I'm going to tell you why. Because when Unico put out the MVSX, which is the Neo Geo cabinet that has 50 games in it right out of the box, so many of these big home arcade YouTubers were all thinking that it was this mysterious cabinet. We're all excited about it. I don't know if you remember this, Jeff. They were hyping the hell out of it. And then when it finally got released, what did they do? They tore it down. They're like, "Oh, the buttons and sticks are terrible. It comes with 50 games, but the 50 games are mostly fighter-centric. And I don't really like all the fighting games. The speakers aren't that good." I mean, they tore it apart, right? They tore it apart. But here's the thing I'll say about the MVSX. 50 games out of the box. If you like Neo Geo games and you like those kind of arcade games and you grew up during that time like I did, it's an arcade fan's dream. And the other thing people can't complain about is the fact that the Neo Geo MVSX actually has that's the other thing they complained about. "Oh, it doesn't have the 4-button layout. It's got, 6 buttons. What do you need 6 buttons in a Neo Geo for? That's not what the MVS was." Well, I got news for you. You're right.
You complained that you have too many buttons.
It was an MVS, right? It was an MVS, but this is the MVSX. This is a completely different thing. It's not trying to be an MVS. It's an MVSX trying to be a more modern version of the MVS with more buttons, because they thought naturally people were going to attempt to modify it and want to be able to play with the 6 buttons. So they thought ahead. They basically future-proofed their system.
That's exactly what they did. 2 extra buttons. It was future-proof.
In case they weren't able to secure licensing for any more games. They knew that somebody would hack it, and they'd be able to play more of those games. And we got a super chat here from Console Fanboy 499. Thank you, Console Fanboy. One Up will have an extra screen on the Dragon's Lair, so expect it to be $1,500.
Prices
LOL.
are up right now, Zohar. Those things are expensive, right?
oh yeah, $1,500. And
I passed on the
that's not even
MVSX.
a pro line. That's not even a pro line.
So I had major FOMO on the MVSX. I really wanted one, and I was like, but what I'm glad I didn't though. I'm glad that I didn't, and the only reason why is because I'm not a huge fighting game fan.
Oh,
I think it's something like 35 or 40 of the 50 games are fighting games.
Now, I'm the opposite. I absolutely love the Neo Geo fighters. So for
then
me,
it's perfect for you.
Perfect for me, and I have limited space, so I'm not going to have that many cabinets. But it's a beautiful, beautiful cab for what it is. I'm telling you right now, if you're a fan of Neo Geo and you like those fighting games, you cannot lose with the MVSX. And I'm not even gonna. I understand, the legalities and everything with the high-low hack, but let me just be clear: the high-low hack is a godsend. It's one of the most beautiful front ends I've ever seen on a home arcade. And the fact is, you can scroll through all these games. You have access to them, even if you don't put anything else on there. But the initial high-low hack, where you're able to watch, where you're able to play just the Neo Geo library, it's worth it.
It's like what, 170 games or something?
It's so many games. Yeah, I think it's around that.
There's some good games.
And then they got it on there where you could add the Capcom play system too, and then you could play all the Capcom fighters and stuff.
Well, if I ever did get one, I would have to do the high-low. I'm a huge proponent of good user-friendly interfaces, and that's one of the big gripes that I have with at-game stuff is their interface is not user-friendly. But with the high-low hack on the MVSX, yeah, that makes a big difference on the user interface. And iiRcade doesn't have the prettiest interface, but it's user-friendly. So
oh yeah, we're gonna get to that interface. I just want to give a shout out here to Die For, the great Bobby Vu, wonderful, wonderful person, salt of the earth. He says iiRcade is the future, guys. Trust me, we do trust you, and we do know that it is the future. And I got a $10 super chat here from my good friend Skywalker the Jedi. He says, "Happy birthday, sir. I truly appreciate you and what you stand for, and I'm honored to be able to interact with you. Keep up what you do. You're an inspiration to a lot of us. Hope you enjoy your day." Well, I'm enjoying my day just being surrounded by such great people like Jeff, great people like you, Skywalker, great people like To Die For and Papa Brad and Console Fanboy and Corey and everybody, CT Jason, everybody here today. I'm so excited for all of you. And then we got Neo Sevens. What's up, brother? With a $10 super chat. Happy birthday, ZodWriter.
Look at that picture.
Thank you so much. Oh, I love it. Neo Sevens is awesome. He's with me on a lot of the other kinds of stuff that we do on other channels, and he is amazing as well. And Corey says, "Skywalker, what did you do? Console Fanboy takes time. Just wait a little bit." Yes, To Die For. This is what me and Jeff have been talking about offline for a couple of weeks now. The reality is that everybody may not be happy with the current lineup of titles that are on the iiRcade. I remember my initial reaction, and this is Jeff, this was just my initial reaction before I realized what we were dealing with here. But my initial reaction was, with what iiRcade is currently doing, it's like buying a PS5 and only being able to play Atari 2600 games on it. That's literally how I felt based off of what I was seeing. And then when I got a chance to actually delve into the iiRcade a little more and got a chance to actually see how it is, and not just the machine itself, but the community surrounding it, the beautiful community surrounding it. And I had a wonderful conversation on Facebook chat, on Facebook DMs with Jong.
He's such a good guy.
Such a beautiful guy. Such a beautiful guy. He is another salt of the earth individual. And when you talk to him, you cannot help but hope for nothing but success. The man deserves. I mean, it's to me, I didn't just see it wasn't see. So I'm going to be honest. It's not that I didn't necessarily fall in love with the iArcade straight away. For me, it was more about once I got the machine and once I got a chance to explore and see what it was all about, and then see all the good people around it and see the community support and actually talking to Jong himself. That's what really opened my eyes.
Let me tell you a little story about Jong. So I got one of the very first iArcades, right? I got it from the Kickstarter, and this was before the iArcade store was even up. It was just the 11 pack-in games, and I was trying to get it set up so that I could get on, get the Wi-Fi working. And I was kind of, because I literally had the second one that was out there, I was a little bit of the test dummy, right? For like, okay, this is one of the first people to get this machine. Let's make sure this works right. Jong was up at like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, helping me on Facebook Messenger, chatting back and forth, helping me troubleshoot and getting it up and going. Because it wasn't seamless right at the beginning. There were hiccups. And Jong was up at like 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. And I couldn't believe it. I'm like, this is the CEO of this company who is helping me with customer. They don't even think they had a customer service team at the time. It was just Jong. But that's the kind of person that he is, and that's the kind of passion that he has for this product. He's an amazing dude, and I want this to be so successful because he's such a good dude.
Yes, and when I see people like Jong, and I see the great Bobby Vu, To Die For, all of these people have passion for everything that they do, and they're all about quality, and they're all about giving you the best possible experience that you could have.
Look at all these happy birthday super chats you're getting. Woo, boy, you're getting some presents today.
It's a great day, and it's great being here with you, Jeff. I just have to say, and these great people in the chat. This is such a wonderful topic to talk about. We've got Corey with the $10 super chat. Corey, thank you so much. He says, hell yeah, Zod, happy birthday again. Have some Coke on me. And on that note, what's your favorite Coke? I like the regular Coke. I buy the regular Coke original recipe all the time. When they're out of stock on that, sometimes I get the cherry Coke, but I love the regular Coke. I've always been a Coke guy. I'm not a Pepsi person, though. The Pepsi stuff messes with my bladder, but I love Coke. What about you, Jeff? Are you Coke or Pepsi? What do you prefer?
Well, tonight I am drinking Zevia creamy root beer, and this is a 0-calorie, sugar-free, because I'm a type 2 diabetic. So there we go.
You're doing the right thing. And me, I'm trying to drink water because I'm trying to drink less soda because I love Coke. I love caffeine. It's where the world is at for me, and it keeps you alert. Console Fanboy with the $9.99 super chat says, happy birthday, Zod. You are family. And I promise you, Jeff, if Run and Gun 2 is released for the iArcade, I'll get it for the third and final time. That game is hard to emulate, but iArcade can do it. Oh my God, I'm with you. If they put Run and Gun 2 on iArcade, I'm definitely getting it.
Will this be the third time now? I guess he bought it, sold it, bought it, sold it.
I see that, and that's something that I'll never do. Like when I get a cabinet, sometimes with me with cabinets, like I had a Pac-Man 40th anniversary arcade 1-up, and I gave it away to somebody as a gift because I wanted it to go somewhere where I knew it would have a good home and it would be taken care of, and that person would appreciate it. And that person still plays it today and loves it and is very thankful for it. And I honestly, I couldn't be happier either because, for me, I currently don't own any arcade 1-ups.
wow.
And we've got To Die For, Bobby
Look at
Boo, the
that.
great Bobby
Ooh.
Boo, with a $49.99 super chat. Thank you, Bobby. You know I love you, bro. I'm going to have your back till the end of time. He says, happy birthday, brother. The only person you can trust in all community is To Die For. I agree with you. You are, listen.
He's humble too.
This is a guy who
he's a very
really,
giving. Man,
it's been almost a year since To Die For built me a custom Mortal Kombat 1 arcade cabinet, and it is so amazing. It's a bar top, so amazing and beautiful. I couldn't be happier. I'm super excited because the next thing I asked Bobby to build for me, I said, could you build me at some point? Could you build me a Killer Instinct countercade? And I told him, I don't care how long I have to wait for it, because anything he does is quality. It's awesome, and he never disappoints.
Oh, trust me. He this entire time that he was building, you saw the iArcade Nexus that he built for Jong. The entire time he was showing us pictures and video footage along the way, the entire process. The dude is a craftsman like you wouldn't believe.
Beautiful.
I mean,
beautiful.
The attention to detail. I mean, he does what nobody else can do. Nobody can do what he does.
This is how you know that this community is blessed with so many great people. That's why like I said, when I see Bobby Vu and I see Jong, I don't worry about how the home arcade community is going to do. I don't worry about the future, because when you have visionaries like that, when you have people that are all about quality and all about positivity, Jeff, it doesn't get any better than that. You don't have, I've never heard Bobby Vu speak a negative word ever in the time that I've known him. He's always positive no matter what, and he is absolutely amazing. I
tell you what. So I also moderate on several of the iArcade community forums, fake Facebook groups.
Yeah,
it's the easiest job ever, because honestly, like, it is such a great community. Now, I'm not saying that there's not issues. There are in every group, but by and large, like, the people there are just so. That's what they're like. This is just the type of people that there are. It's this great community to be part of, to be honest.
It is. And we got El Necron. What's up, brother? In the chat with a $10 happy birthday super chat. Man, I love you guys. Thank you so much for all the super chats. I appreciate this quite a bit. You guys have no idea how much this is helping me and helping the channel. This is fantastic. Thank you so much. You guys, I have no idea. This is just fantastic. We got to get back, Jeff. We got to get back to the Dragon's Lair talk we were having earlier. We got to talk a little bit more about Dragon's Lair. We got that dude Vince saying happy birthday, Zod. What's up, that dude Vince? Good to see you. One of my favorite moderators for my channel is that dude Vince, and there's a reason why that dude Vince has wrenches all across all these communities, because he's a really good dude and people know it.
Console Fanboy says he's a god. Talking about Bobby.
Yeah, talking about Bobby. Oh my God, yes. I mean, you there's just no there. Here it is, right here. Yeah. Console Fanboy says yes. To Die For is not human. He's a god. I'm not joking. I'll have his back always. If I was a woman, I would date him.
It's 2022. You don't have to be a woman. You can just do it.
Oh, that's true too. That's absolutely true.
I don't know if Bobby would be down.
I don't know if Bobby would be down for it though, because Bobby does have a wife and a family. But hey, I think it's an interesting dynamic. Getting back to, Dragon's Lair. All of the pack-in games that come, which we have to talk about, all the pack-in games that come with the iArcade are good games.
So
they didn't pick bad games for this. They didn't pick bad games for this machine.
Right. When I backed the Kickstarter, I looked at it from this perspective. I said, okay, if the iArcade store never comes out, let's say that the Kickstarter is just you get the 11 packing games and then the company goes under or something, right? would I be happy with my purchase with just those 11 pack-in games? And I compared to my arcade one-ups, and I said, okay, I spent X amount of money on this arcade one-up, and it's got this games, this game lineup on it, and I'm happy with those. Then I looked at the iArcade, and I'm like, okay, I got these 11 games for this price. I don't even remember what I paid for it, but it was a good deal on the Kickstarter, and I thought, I'm happy with just those 11. To be honest, do I want the store to come out and there be more games? Sure, but that's all bonus for me. Those 11 games, I mean, don't you think they would have a Double Dragon cabinet for Arcade 1-Up if they could? That's money right there. R-Type?
Uh-huh.
Come on.
Yes, I agree. And hey, Ashley, I got to give a shout out to Ashley the Widow, my co-host on Weekly Comic Book Movies on Friday nights. Good to see you in here, Ashley. Thank you so much for coming. I agree with you. If you buy a cabinet and you're not happy with the games that it already comes with, don't buy the cabinet. Right. Again, this is why I respect your viewpoint on the MVSX. But even that the MVSX is a good deal if you like those games. If you like those games, you cannot beat 50 games out of the box with no issues whatsoever. I mean, you're good to go. There's never been any arcade one-up or any home arcade product that I know of that's not a custom job that comes with 50 games.
Well, even if you're not a fighting game fan, let's say you're a Metal Slug fan. Would you be willing to pay the $500 or whatever it is for a Metal Slug cabinet just with Metal Slug? Because if you are, well, then the other 49 games are bonus, right?
Are bonus games, yes. And you do get all the Metal Slug games on there as well. So that's,
there you go.
If you like Metal Slug, you're in good shape. But again, not to mention the fact that now you have bonus options for that system that makes it even better. But talking about the topic of Dragon's Lair, which has been buzzing around in my head for a month, the game comes with the iArcade preloaded. So if you want to play Dragon's Lair and you love Dragon's Lair, you've got some value there with the iArcade.
Right there.
It's fully playable. It's fully playable. It's built in. You don't have any issues. And it's the arcade. It's there.
But here's the thing that a lot of people don't realize. They don't just take a game and just port it over. They optimize it. So what does that mean? So they've adjusted the aspect ratio so that it fits properly on here. They added an attract mode that didn't exist before. So now there's an attract mode specific for that game. So there's the global attract mode, but if you go into Dragon's Lair and you just let it sit there, it'll go into its own Dragon's Lair attract mode. They added leaderboard support, global leaderboards in there. So they've done all of this stuff. They have different modes that you can do, arcade mode or home mode. This is all optimization that they did specifically for the iArcade to make that game really shine on this system. So it's not just grabbing a ROM and throwing it in an emulator. They actually put some work into this stuff, and this is why it's so much better than these MAME multicade things, where half the time, and I'll tell you, I crap on at games a lot, but I tried to play this one shooter game on there. What's it called? Dragon something. The one where you're on a dragon, and I can
tell you what you did wrong though.
It didn't work.
It's different. Those Laserdisc games through emulation have different buttons. And you have to know what buttons there are. So essentially, what we would normally use as like say select and start for these Laserdisc games is not select and start. What we would choose, the button mapping is ridiculous for these Laserdisc games. That's the problem. So when you get a game like Dragon's Lair and it's put on the iArcade, like you said, it's optimized for the iArcade, so you can get the maximum positive, fun gameplay experience. And that's what it is. Now, what bothers me, and the reason why I brought up the iArcade, is all of these people in the home arcade community that have big YouTube channels keep talking about the fact that Arcade 1-Up is supposed to be releasing or eventually planning to release a Dragon's Lair. It's almost like it's like the Holy Grail right now, or it's like a unicorn. And I mean, they keep moving the goalposts, because I thought the unicorn and the Holy Grail for most of these people was the Tron cabinet. But I guess allegedly now it's Dragon's Lair.
It's a moving target, is what it is.
My problem is, why? If you want to play Dragon's Lair, you've got the option to play it on a perfectly viable machine with better buttons and sticks than you would get with an Arcade 1-Up, even if you buy it from Arcade 1-Up.
I'll play devil's advocate for 1 second on this. The only reason that I think that you could make a valid argument for that is if you want the authentic arcade look of the cabinet. If you're one of those kind of people that just wants to sit back and go, that's a pretty machine. You know what I mean? Like Zohar talks about, Tron is just a light, a nightlight.
It's just a purple nightlight, neon nightlight. But here's the thing about that, and here's the argument to end all arguments. Here's the rebuttal for that, and I'm glad. Thank you so much for playing devil's advocate on that. But I got an answer.
Yep,
it's not authentic.
Yeah,
Even
you're right.
When Arcade 1-Up puts out their cabinet, it's not authentic. It may be shaped like the Dragon's Lair. It may have similar artwork, but as we know, it's not going to be authentic, because it's going to have different changes because of what? Because of copyrights and different things. I don't think Arcade 1-Up has ever, and correct me if I'm wrong, has ever been able to 100% use the original authentic everything for any of their.
Are you telling me, Zod, you don't remember back in the 80s when you took your cell phone and you to the arcade and you stuck it in there to make a scoreboard screen? You don't remember doing that?
No. Not only that, but I will argue one step further, and I will take it one step further with a cabinet that's coming out in the near future. We still don't know when. The Mortal Kombat 30th anniversary.
Another Mortal Kombat. Okay.
Another Mortal Kombat, is if we don't have enough Mortal Kombats through Arcade 1-Up. Here's the thing.
Zohar's gonna unsubscribe. Be careful.
Yeah, that cabinet looks like the old Midway because it has the Midway shape and whatever. But as we know, it's not authentic, because number one, it's not going to have the correct artwork for legal reasons. But even if it did, and I'm going to say this right now, even if by the grace of God, say they were able to actually get Daniel Pacina the license to put his likeness on the side of the cabinet, it would still look slightly different for legal reasons. Unless you buy a custom cabinet made for you, it will never look 100% like the original from Arcade 1-Up. So when people say, "Oh, but it looks like the original," no, it doesn't. It looks like an Arcade 1-Up doing the best job they can to make it look original, but it's not. It's not authentic. It's no more authentic than the iiRcade. And the iiRcade isn't pretending to be something that it isn't. The good people over at our iiRcade have said numerous times that the iiRcade is a console in an arcade form factor.
But Zod, the new ones are going to have 19-inch monitors. This is innovative. But wait, what size monitor does the iiRcade have? The 19-inch monitor.
19-inch
it's
monitor
had that the whole time
out of the gate, and that's why I say, listen, you gotta look at these things from a future-proof perspective. How many arcade cabinets do you want to buy? I mean, we can't all be Michael B. We can't all have 57 Arcade 1-Ups. It's just not humanly possible. So where
does he put all of these?
I don't know. I look at that and I've always wondered about Michael B, because it's like he'll do all these videos and he'll try to make it seem suspenseful, like, should I buy the new variant of whatever game? And he'll try to make it so suspenseful. And it's like you're looking at him and you're like, you're Michael B. You're gonna buy the cab. So just be honest with us. Stop saying that you're not gonna buy the cab. Stop trying to keep us in suspense because it's not working. I'm not clicking on your video because I actually believe you. I'm clicking on your video because I know you're going to lie. And I just want to hear you finally say
it.
Oh, I did it. I bought Terminator 2. Oh, I finally did it. I bought Turtles in Time. Oh,
well, he'll say, no, I'm not going to do it. And then like 3 or 4 days later, you see the tweet with a picture of the back of his car and the box is there.
You see the box in the back of the car. And I'm sitting there shaking my head, wondering why the wife hasn't left yet. I'm just like, what are you doing? What are you doing, dude? I mean, and I'm not, and I'm being serious here. No disrespect to Michael B, okay? I'm not disrespecting him. I'm just making a point that, you know, there's no suspension of disbelief about whether or not he is going to buy the latest cab. It's just not the truth. And
you got in the chat, you got iArcade employees in here now.
Well, I love iArcade, and I'm glad iArcade is in my chat. In fact, I love iArcade so much. I'm going to tell you this right now, iArcade. Please unblock me on Twitter finally, okay? I was blocked on Twitter a long time ago when I was ignorant and didn't know what I know now. So please, I'm asking you, please unblock me on Twitter so that when I want to talk about iArcade or want to promote something, I can do it on Twitter without seeing myself blocked.
I'm sure you'll get unblocked. Jong is all about second chances.
No, but I don't think it was Jong who blocked me because I talked to Jong. Yeah. I talked to Jong on Facebook. Jong and I are friends on Facebook. I've had conversations with Jong before, and I am in the iArcade Facebook group. I don't know if you know.
But I can fix that. No.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. Jeff can fix that.
Not anymore.
It's like, and we got a $4.99 super chat here from Console Fanboy, my good friend Zohar, saying, I really feel like no one is playing these one-ups anymore. They're really just buying for the looks. iArcade is played. One-ups are just for show. This is not only a $4.99 super chat, but this is the comment of the night so far. Console Fanboy, you hit it on the head. So basically, what you're buying from Arcade 1-Up is an illusion of authenticity. That's what you're buying. You're not buying, because again, I'll give this to iArcade. People crapped all over the design of the iArcade. Said, oh, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look great. But let me tell you something. Every single person that I have had in my apartment since I bought the iArcade, okay? Since I brought that thing into my house, they've looked at that machine and they've said, wow, that's unique. That's pretty modern looking for an arcade. Everybody has commented positively on the iArcade.
What do you think of the look of the new one compared to the old one? We're calling it the Omega. We've named it the Omega.
I think that they are. I think that they're nice, but I kind of prefer the look of the current one. If I'm being honest, I don't think there's anything wrong with the current look. I think the current look is fine. And if you want different artwork, you can get third-party artwork, or you could just, if you don't have one, you can get the iArcade with a different skin, and it's fine. I personally have no issues with the unique look of the original bar top. That doesn't bother me at all. I actually really, really like the speakers. Like I was telling you off air before we got on the stream today, I use it to stream to the Bluetooth feature for the jukebox as a second pair of speakers for my home theater when I'm watching a movie. And I love the speaker setup. And don't even get me started on Bobby Vu's invention with the tablet, because to be honest, I did that and I thought it was the greatest thing ever. I'm like, this is awesome. So I really, to me, I don't have any issues other than I'll get into what I would like to see happen. But as far as when you get into what you actually get in comparison to an arcade 1-up, if you're okay with the 11 games that it comes with, then it's a safe purchase. Not to mention the fact there's an online store with 300 plus additional games that you could buy.
But I gotta say this: a lot of the people that are out there that are criticizing the game lineup, they're saying there's no good games. Then you start asking them, well, do you think Retromania Wrestling is a good game? Well, yeah, that one's good. That one's good. Well, do you like R-Type? Do you like Rastan? Do you like, and you start going through, and they don't know what games are even on it. They just see ladders and eggs because that's what certain people put out there and said, this is all the crap that's on there. But they don't realize there are a lot of really good games if they just looked. Now, the cool thing, and I'm going to point this out because people still don't know this. You can buy any game on the iArcade store and you have 30 minutes to play it, try it out. And if you don't like it, you just click refund and it just goes away. You never got charged for it. A half an hour, you can play the game. That's a long time for an arcade game to be able to play for a half an hour.
Just be able to try the games. And that's one thing that I really like. Now, you guys did a showcase on your iiRcadian show on a game that is one of my favorites on the iArcade, which is called it's a first person shooter, not a first person shooter, but a shmup, and it's Ragnarok Skies, and it's very fun, and it's basically a mobile game that was converted to the iArcade. Am I correct?
I don't know if it's the mobile game version of it, but
no. But I mean, I thought it was initially it was a mobile game.
It might. It
has a lot of mobile game.
It's a very modern shooter game. Yeah, it's a bullet hell kind of game, and it is balls hard too. Just so you know, like it's a very difficult game. Yeah.
Fun game. I can't get very far on it, but I love playing it.
Some people, that's their favorite shmup or favorite game total on the system. It's that good, but and I love. There's about 50 or 60 shoot 'em ups, and I love shoot 'em ups. And that's definitely a good one.
Now I gotta ask. Also, a lot of people when they buy these these arcade 1-ups, and they have them lined up, and they say they use the argument that it's authentic, and I've made the argument that it isn't, and it is never going to be, because when have you ever had seen an arcade machine with a riser? Just saying. But okay, you got all these, you got a lineup of them. Since I'm picking on Michael B tonight, we'll just use him again as an example. So you're like Michael B. You got 57 arcade 1-ups, and you got other priorities and other things you got to worry about in your life. But you're in Canada, so you go to the Brick and you see for like 999 Canadian dollars, you can own. It's the only one there. You can own Killer Instinct, and you got to have it. Now, you're Michael B. You also have other things you have to buy. You have to go buy a new crib. You got to get this. You got to get that. You look at the arcade 1-up, and you're sweating, and you're standing there, you're sweating so much that the sweat is like right underneath you, and you're trying to decide, do I buy it or do I not buy it? Now, if you're Michael B, it's a pretty safe bet that Killer Instinct is going home with Michael, in spite of all the other situations, all the other things going on. It's going home with him because he's got to have it. He's got to be able to talk about it, right?
Well, he's going to spend 10 minutes in the baby food aisle trying to determine between squash or bananas. But there's no hesitation when you're in the electronics grabbing that box.
No. Listen.
There's no question there.
I just gotta say. So the video comes out, and the video is, "Will I buy Killer Instinct?" And you got the Brick logo on your thumbnail and all this. It's like, dude, do us all a favor. Skip that and just buy the Killer Instinct and do a review like the 10 million other people that bought and got ripped off by Killer Instinct. Because I'm going to tell you right now,
drama. You got to create the drama.
Yeah. But that's not drama. That at some point it's no longer drama. At some point you're just misleading your viewership because they all know you're going to buy it. I know you're going to buy it. Everybody knows you're going to buy it. So just spare us the BS and buy the cabinet so you can do your review, or you can do like me and Zohar does, where sometimes we'll get cabinets just to be able to talk about them and then return them. You can do that. You can do that too. It's not really. It's not really
what you did with the iArcade, Zohar.
It's not really that big of a deal. But I feel like, okay, so you got 57. Is it really a question?
Is it really 57?
That you're going to buy 58? That you're going to buy 59? That you're going to buy 60? That you're going to buy variant number 582 of Pac-Man?
No,
is it really a question?
Now, hold on. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 arcade machines in this little room. Okay, I've got a couple more downstairs and a few more in the garage. Where the hell do you put 57 arcade machines?
I don't know.
Does he have these things like in the bathrooms, the kitchen?
My father was my father was here. My father was here at my place the other day, and he saw, because I've got 5 arcade cabinets in my small apartment, and he saw my cabinets. He's like, and he kind of looked at me and he shook his head and he's like, you could fit another one of those in your bathroom if you really needed a place for it. And and I thought about it, and then I realized, and this is the reason why I'm picking on Michael B tonight. I realized I'm no better than Michael B because I have 5 cabinets and I have a small living space. What is wrong?
If you remove the kick plate from the front, you can store toilet paper underneath inside of the cabinet.
Right. And
it's like, handy there.
If you move your, maybe, put your, kind of maybe cut your bathtub in half, you might even be able to fit another one.
You don't need to take a shower anyway, right? That's that you can fit 2 or 3 where the shower is. Just take the shower out,
Yeah. So I looked at the fact that I got 5 in my small apartment and said, I'm no better than Michael B. I got 5 cabinets.
I think the point we're trying to get to here, and I think this is where you're going with this, is that iArcade, it's future proof. You can continue to add more games to it, so you're never going to get bored with the lineup, and it takes up the space of one cabinet.
Yes, one cabinet.
But that's the main argument of a multi-cade versus, well, I guess these are still technically also multi-cades.
Well, I will say this. Actually, every cabinet that I have is a multi-cade because I got to include the iArcade in that, because the iArcade's a multi-cade, the MVSX is a multi-cade, and then the other 3 cabinets I have, get this, if this isn't obsessive and crazy, the other 3 cabinets that I have are all multi-cade variants of the MK1 cabinet.
Oh, okay.
All 3 of them, but they're different and unique in their own ways, each one. They're not all 100% perfect. One of them is, and then the one Bobby Vu made for me is pretty close to perfect. And then there's another one that I have that is a mini version that is pretty close to how the original cabinet actually looked. It's funny to me because none of those cabinets are arcade 1-up cabinets. And the reason none of those cabinets
has a problem, right? They can't. At some point, their customer base is to the point where they literally have no more space.
Yeah.
And they say, if I'm gonna buy another arcade 1-up, I have to get rid of an arcade 1-up.
That's what they always do. That's the other.
And that's topic. Where we're at this point.
You get YouTubers who literally come on screen and actually say, yeah, I had to sell NBA Jam so that I could buy NBA Jam XL. And then I sold the Mortal Kombat Legacy because the 30th anniversary is coming in and I want to move that out. I sold the Capcom Legacy so that I could get the Big Blue, and I'm going to sell the Big Blue so I could get and it just goes on and on and on. It's just like a vicious cycle.
How long are people going to put up with that, right?
And there's not enough time in between purchases that this makes any sense. So what you buy the Mortal Kombat Legacy, and then 2 months later the 30th anniversary version comes out, and you gotta better still, the Sam's Club exclusive version with the Mortal Kombat 3 skin comes out. And you're like, well, I gotta have that. So then you turn around and you sell the MK2 and you get so you can get the MK3 because you like that skin better. Or you could just be one of those people where it's like, well, I bought the MK2, I'm going to get the MK3, and then when the 30th anniversary comes out, I'm going to get that, and I'm going to put that there, and then I'll have all three. Yeah, but all three of them are the exact same thing. They're the exact same cabinet. The only difference is the skin. What are you doing?
See, and if you're like me, you wait until the new one comes out and everyone's doing the upgrade, and then you go on OfferUp and Facebook Marketplace and get the old one for like $150.
No. I love what you did. You did the greatest thing in the world. When Target had that blunder and put the Arcade 1-Up countercade,
I did get that deal.
Put the original Legacy cabinet at the same price as the Arcade 1-Up countercade. You made them stick to it to send you the Legacy.
I called them out on that. You remember that? Yeah, I called Target and I'm like, I was like an hour on the phone with these guys. I said, look, you advertised this. You sent me a receipt to my email with this, and it said this with a picture. You need to stick to what you did. They tried to pull a fast one on me and switcheroo on me, and I said, that's bait and switch. And I got my Legacy cab for $250. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I made him stick to it.
And you got the best deal. So now
that wasn't the best deal.
I
got to give props to Tony C for finding me the best deal, which was on my NBA Jam, $99 at Walmart. I grabbed 2 of them.
Yeah, you can't beat that.
Now
are you gonna get the MK Mortal Kombat 30th anniversary?
Hell no.
I can't. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't justify it because when I think about it, the Mortal Kombat, it's not gonna. It looks a little more authentic than some of the others because of the shape, but the artwork is off. They don't have the Midway logos. It's going to be the same buttons and sticks as all the other ones.
What's the biggest advantage to it I can see is online. But for me, I'm so bad at the game. I don't want to play against real people. I'm so bad. So that's not a huge advantage to me to play Mortal Kombat online against other people. But
well, no, because you can do it on Fightcade. And here's the thing.
Right, exactly.
And here's the thing. When you do it on Fightcade, you get people that exploit the options, have special controllers where they can pull off all these superhuman moves. Listen, I got a Mortal Kombat fight stick specifically for Fightcade, and it's the fight stick with the half buttons and sticks. It's arcade perfect, and when I play on Fightcade, these people still come at me inhumanly with inhuman speeds and just can do moves, like this. I don't know how that's even possible. I'm using a half stick and buttons like the original cabinet, and I can't move as fast as these people. So that's when I knew that there's so much exploitation that goes on in Fightcade. It kind of dilutes the experience, and that's the only reason I was considering possibly getting the 30th anniversary so that I could play against people online, and also because of the fact that Bobby Vu is such a wonderful, wonderful modder. He could just make us the correct deck that we would need with the buttons and sticks for this, and it would be an arcade perfect experience. So again, there's pros and cons, but at the end of the day, I'm shaking my head thinking, well, no, because it's the 30th anniversary and it has online play. It's probably gonna be like $700. Yeah, it's probably gonna be like $700.
you're always going to have something that it's not quite there. Have you noticed that? This is what Arcade 1-Up does. They always make sure that it's not quite perfect. Like, why do you think we have not seen a Pac-Man and a Mrs. Pac-Man together on a cabinet? It's because if they do that, no one will continue to buy these. No one will continue to upgrade. They've always got to be able to make it a little bit better, because that's how they make their money.
Yep.
But if they give you everything that you want all at once, and it's perfect quality, and it's the games list that you want, then you'll be like, this is the one. This is the Mortal Kombat. This is the Street Fighter. This is the Pac-Man. And then you won't buy the next version of it. They've got to make you always want a little bit more.
Right. Because their goal is,
it's good marketing.
Their goal is not for you to be content. Their goal is for you to be satisfied for the moment. Because if you're content, that's when the sales dry up. To Die For says there's plenty of good games on the iArcade, and surprisingly, they managed to release about 300 games for a new company for about a year. Not bad at all. I agree. I think it's wonderful. I mean, they got me. I got a bunch of games. I ended up getting. I got Street Hoop and Mug Smashers, and my absolute favorite game on the iArcade right now, which is Thunder Hoop 2. Oh my God, that game is so much fun. I love it. It has a real like gritty quality 90s quality to it. It's really fun. Have you played it? Have you played Thunder Hoop?
I do not have that one. I'm gonna get it now though, because you're recommending. If you think
it's my favorite game. Like whenever I play my iArcade, that's my go-to game.
Okay.
And I can play it on other platforms, but it's fun to play it on the iArcade. You know, the 19-inch screen, the higher quality buttons and sticks.
I'm glad you said that, because there are games like Teslagrad is one that I have it on Steam. I've played it on Steam, but I still bought it on the iArcade. I don't know how to describe it, but it is a different experience to play it on the iArcade than it is to play with a keyboard and a mouse on a computer screen. It just is. The sound, like you said, the controls,
if you like a game enough to buy it on multiple platforms, it doesn't matter. And this is where I'll get into some of the things that I'd like to see our iArcade do, and I can get your comments on this. Papa Brad's Gaming says iArcadians are trying to do game spotlights to bring some of the banger games into the light so more people know about them. Exactly. That is a great thing. That's why I love what you guys do, because you guys do that. And then you were talking about Truxton not too long ago, and I think Truxton is a great game, but I have Truxton on other platforms, and I don't really think that if I purchase it on the iArcade, it's going to be that much different. So
I think you're just afraid you can't beat me on the leaderboard, Zod. Is that what it is? You really just
I honestly don't think I could beat you on the leaderboards. And I'm learning, and you know what? I'm learning because off of Console Fanboy, because he was crazy about eggs. He just wanted to beat you on the leaderboards for eggs. And then of course, what did he do? He sold his iArcade.
I want to talk about eggs for a quick second, because you bring that up. It was this joke, right? Like, because we look at the games that were on the system, and it was like, well, let's make fun of this game because it looks totally stupid. And so I was doing a live stream, and the people in the live stream were like, download eggs, play eggs. They were egging me on, right? The bad pun. So they're egging me on to download this game. I'm like, I don't even know how to play this. So I download the game. I learned how to play it live on stream. And then I realized just how addicting it was. And I started playing it and playing it and playing. And I'm like, this is actually a really good game.
Yeah.
But I get this feeling sometimes a lot with the games on the iArcade that you might, when you're, and this is the thing that frustrates me about people say there's no good games on it. Try them.
There is.
Try them.
There definitely
because games that look like they're not any fun, then once you try it, pretty soon you spend the entire weekend playing 10-Yard Fight because you're that addicted to it, right? It's like, just try the game. And a lot of times you find that there's some really good gems on here that are super addicting, that if you just try it, you'll see.
Listen, you had a bachelor and a bunch of other people when the sales were going on convinced me to get Mug Smashers, because I was like, okay, I had played Mug Smashers a few times before on other platforms, and I was like, I don't know, but it was cheap. I think it was like $2.25 or something for Mug Smashers the day that I bought it. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get Mug Smashers. It's pretty fun, because you were talking about it, two guys in polka dot pants or something. I mean,
Yeah.
it was fun, and it's a nice experience. But there's, my thing is, when you can see when they can get, they can get those kinds of games, they can eventually get other games. And another game that I really like that's on iArcade right now is Ninja Kids.
Okay.
That's another really fun.
So you're like a big beat 'em ups kind of guy.
I love those types of games.
There are more coming.
One game I'd love to see on iArcade is Violent Storm. I'd also like to see Vendetta. There's a lot of games, Vigilante. There's a lot of games a lot of good beat 'em ups. Another good beat 'em up. What's it called? Zero Team USA. That would be a fun beat 'em up on iArcade. But also, what I'd love to see iArcade start doing, and this is something that I think would really put them over the top as far as market penetration. I'd love to see them start getting collections, like a lot of these consoles. Like you go on the Xbox store, you go on the PlayStation store, you have collections. You have like the Konami Contra collection. You have the Kunio-kun collection with River City Ransom and all these classic games. A game like River City Girls and that River City Girls prequel, River City Girls Zero, that just came out.
New River City Ransom that just came out, I think.
Yeah, right? River City Ransom Underground.
Yeah.
And here's the thing about River City Ransom Underground. It would be a perfect game for the iArcade because it's never been released on any other console. It's been released on the PC, but it's never been released anywhere else. And if they put that on the iArcade, that should be a day one purchase for anybody because it's a fantastic game. It really is.
And I know they got more beat 'em ups in the works that are coming, but we know there's other games that you can't get. Like Arcade 1-Up isn't going to be able to play things like Shredder's Revenge or Streets of Rage 4. Like they can't handle that.
Not to mention today, it was just announced, speaking of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that there is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Cowabunga collection coming out for consoles.
Yes.
Now, that's something that could easily be ported over to iArcade. There's no reason why iArcade wouldn't be able to run it. So if they could get it for these other ones, then iArcade should be able to throw their hat in the ring for that too. And this is what I've been saying for many months. They need to embrace the fact that they are a console and start going after console licenses for these titles, because
it's a lose for these guys. Because if they go after console games, they get critiqued. If they, for not being
it doesn't matter, Jeff, because they'll sell more consoles. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to give you a perfect example. Evercade. I rest my case. Evercade, people. Evercade. It's $20 a cartridge for Evercade, and they've got some bangers of a game. You talk about good arcade games. You talk about indie games. You talk about games you talk about a lot of games that are not available elsewhere. Seriously, if Evercade can do it, iArcade can do it too, because iArcade is a great form factor. I don't know.
And it's got the hardware to handle the stuff that their competitors just can't do. Right. But let's talk about license. Can we talk about licensing? Like licenses for this? Because here's the thing. A lot of people will say stuff like, well, why can't they get Pac-Man? Why can't they get Mortal Kombat? Why can't they get Street Fighter? And they think it's because they don't have like somebody's got an exclusive license or something like. That's not what it is. It's about money, right? So
Mhm.
if you have, let's say, Pac-Man, to get a Pac-Man license, you have to buy a bundle of games, right? They have to buy the license that's going to include Pac-Man, Dig Dug, Bosconian, whatever, like all these garbage games that they don't want to, and they maybe want one or two of those games that are in that bundle. So they got to buy the whole bundle, right? So that's one problem. The second problem is, what if it costs like $1 million for this license? Well, how many copies of Pac-Man are they going to have to sell for $4.99 on the iArcade to make that $1 million back? And how many customers do they have with iArcades? They're not going to make that money back, right? So that's the main reason that you don't see them going out and spending hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars on stuff like a Street Fighter license or a Mortal Kombat license or a Pac-Man license. It's the cost. Now, by that same token, Arcade 1-Up, why do you think they keep re-releasing these same titles? Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, Pac-Man. They're squeezing every dime they can because they spend a fortune on these licenses. But what iArcade can do is they can spend the money on a license if they think it's going to sell them cabinets. So a good example of that might be Shredder's Revenge. So maybe when Shredder's Revenge comes out, they might look at that and go, well, this is a one that it's going to cost us a ton to get this license.
When
but
they
it'll
got
sell
when they got,
cabinets.
not to interrupt you, but when they got Retromania, I said, okay, they can get Shredder's Revenge.
Yep.
They can get Streets of Rage 4. They can get this. They can get that. They've got Mayhem Brawler. There's no excuse. If they really want it, they can get it. And I really feel like the console going after, considering yourself a console and going after the same, blanket licenses that, PlayStation or Xbox or any of the, or Switch gets, as long as they're not exclusive, you should be able to obtain those and be able to get them. Like I keep saying, I said this a long time ago and somebody said I was an idiot, but this was my point. Mortal Kombat, for example, about 10 or so years ago, Mortal Kombat, they released a Mortal Kombat complete collection for the PC, the Xbox, and I think it was the PlayStation 3 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's a compilation of Mortal Kombat 2, and Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. Now, it's supposed to be arcade perfect, but anybody who plays it knows that it's a port because there are changes. Some of the sound effects are slightly different. The game plays a little bit differently, but for the most part, and it was done by Code Mystics, and for the most part, it's pretty accurate. And when I saw that, I was playing that collection on my PC not too long ago. I have that collection installed on my PC, and I play with the authentic controls. And here's the thing. I was thinking about iArcade. I'm like, if they went after the license for the Mortal Kombat complete collection, those 3 games, that would be the console ports of those 3 arcade games.
Maybe.
It wouldn't be the same as what Arcade 1-Up got, because Arcade 1-Up went after, like what you were saying earlier. It's like you dump an arcade ROM on a chip, you do your menu or whatever, bam, you're good, you're ready to go. But this would be like what they did with Dragon's Lair. This would essentially be an optimized version for the iArcade, but it would be a version of
they'd
the
make sure to do it right if they're going to spend that kind of money.
Already released. Yes, and I think it would be wonderful, and it would sell cabs.
So let me ask you this. Well, okay, first of all, iArcade is in a very unique situation because, like Console Fanboy keeps pointing out, it's a console. It's like buying an Xbox or something, right? Because the way that you add games to it, it looks like a console, but it's also a home arcade. Now, what makes it interesting is because they skirt that line. They're in this gray area. Now, some companies consider them a home arcade. Other companies consider them a console. which is very interesting because if you ever wondered why we talk about, oh, it's $1 million or whatever to get a Pac-Man license, so it's too expensive for them. But then you go, but these plug and play things that you can get have Pac-Man on it. How can they afford it? It's because the way that these companies license stuff, they have categories. And there's a home arcade category. There's a console category. There's probably a category for plug and plays. There's different categories that they put them in, and they're different prices. Which is why when you hear guys that work at Arcade 1-Up talk about how they have exclusive rights to certain titles and certain companies, like nobody can get Sega games because we're the gatekeeper for the arcade versions. Unfortunately, sir, for you, there are other companies who are not considered home arcades by those same companies. So if you see where I'm going with this, you got companies like Sega who look at iArcade and they consider them a console. They're not competing for those same license deals, which is why you see Sega games on the iArcade. Even though the Arcade 1-Up claims that they have the exclusive rights to arcade licenses. They might, but the iArcade is considered a console to Sega. So games like Streets of Rage 4, guess what? That's a console game. They don't need anybody's permission from any other company to get that license.
That's exactly what I was thinking. And it's going to be the same thing with Shredder's Revenge.
Yep.
You have to understand that this is why we're sitting here saying right now that iArcade is the future. The games right now may look like my old analogy of buying a PS5 to play 2,600 games. But if you look at the potential and you look at the hardware and you look at everything that they can do, I think getting an iArcade now is investing in the future, because the iArcade isn't something that you can mod. It's not something you can tinker with. It's not something I don't think it would be impossible to mod it if the community really wanted to try to figure something out.
If you really wanted to, yeah.
If you really wanted to, you probably could. But the point is that what they're going for and what they're doing, I am dreaming of the day when I can go on the iArcade store and I can go on the PlayStation store and see pretty much the same titles to choose from. Because I can honestly say this: if I got to make a choice between buying Shredder's Revenge on my PlayStation 4 or buying it on the iArcade, I'm going to buy it on the iArcade, because I want to play it like an arcade game, because it looks like it will give you that arcade experience versus just playing it on a regular console.
Well, there was another YouTuber not long ago. I made a video response to him, and that was kind of his critique. Was he was saying, but you can play this arcade game on the Switch. It's like, yeah, you can, and you can buy it. It's the same price there as it is on the Switch. So which one would you rather play it on, your arcade or on your Switch? But you can make that argument for Arcade 1-Up games too. It's not like I can't play 1944 on some other platform. It's not like I can't play Mortal Kombat on 15 different platforms.
15 different platforms. Not only that, it's like I'm sitting here talking about Mortal Kombat, and and I have 3 multicades that are Mortal Kombat themed, where I play Mortal Kombat, and then I have the At Games, Gamer Pro, where I can play Mortal Kombat. But here's the thing about Mortal Kombat. It's an IP that is so beloved that even if you have all these other ways to play Mortal Kombat, if that comes to the iArcade, I'm getting it, because I want to play it on the iArcade.
Everyone would, yeah.
Now I can say this: I've got Mayhem Brawler on my PC. So when it was released and it came out, and it came out on the iArcade, unfortunately, I got it on my PC before I had an iArcade. So although I like Mayhem Brawler, I don't love Mayhem Brawler. So Mayhem Brawler is not a game that I'm going to buy on the iArcade.
You don't want to buy it twice.
I already have it. I won't. That's not a game I will double dip on. But I can tell you a game I would double dip on, and that is Streets of Rage 4. Streets of Rage 4 is on the PlayStation 4. I have it for PlayStation 4. If it comes out on the iArcade tomorrow, It's a done deal, because to me, that game would play great on the iArcade. That would be a great experience. And that's what you have
Absolutely.
to, how you have to look at it. You have to judge these games based on the experiences that you can perceive having when they come to the iArcade. Even if they were to release a Konami Contra collection on iArcade, I've got it on other platforms, but if they actually got the license and put that collection on the iArcade, I definitely get it. Same with Castlevania. I mean, come on, these are classics.
Those
These are
games would play great on an
It would
arcade.
play
Oh,
great
man.
on an arcade, and not only would you enjoy the heck out of it, and heck, at least if you could do it through iArcade, you'd be doing it the right way and supporting the publishers and supporting the developers, and and not there's nothing, and like I said before, there's nothing wrong with at games, because I love the fact that at games gives you an option to bring your own games and do your own thing. But I also got to give a lot of credit to iArcade for going through the proper channels and doing what they have to do to get those titles and to get them optimized for the iArcade, like what they did with Dragon's Lair.
Well, and they're supporting the developers too. I mean, you got to remember, at the end of the day, somebody designed this game, somebody created this game, someone took hours and hours and hours out of their life to create these games that we love so much. And when you just pirate the game and throw on a ROM, I'm not saying that we don't all do it, but we're not supporting the developers. And iArcade is supporting the developers. And when you have a great game that you love, it's worth it to throw a couple bucks at it, because you know what? It supports the developers. And let me say this. So we had, because Michael was in the chat here, he probably still lurking. He does that. But we had Michael from iArcade on our show, the iArcadians, Thursdays at 4:30 Pacific time. There you go. I just had to plug the show. But we had him on our show, and we asked him this. We kind of put him on the spot a little bit. We threw up some specs of a game, and we said, Michael, we would kind of want to know, like, what can the iArcade really handle? Because there's people out there that are saying, you can't handle Dreamcast games, you can't handle this or that. And we're like, let's just ask him. So we gave him some specs, and we said, do you think, given these specs, does this sound like a game that iArcade could play? And he looked at it and he went, yeah. He was like, that'd be right, well, kind of our limitation, but I think we could probably do that. Well, the specs that we gave him were King of Fighters 13. I think it was, Mikey J, correct me if I'm wrong, it's 13, right? King of Fighters 13, not the newest one, but still a very modern one. And he said they could play that. But when they can play stuff like that, I mean,
well,
there you go.
I hope they get that, because
that would be amazing.
I still haven't bought King of Fighters 13. I'm waiting for the iArcade to get it. Let me tell you, I'm a King of Fighters fan. I love King of Fighters. That's why I have an MVSX, because I love the King of Fighters franchise, Fatal Fury, and everything that goes with it. And having that game on the iArcade.
He is in the chat. He just said, I'm here lurking. I like to lurk while I code. I hope he's coding Jong Pong, because we're still waiting on that, Michael.
Console Fanboy says, I got the same MK fight stick. It's really, really amazing. Yes, it is. Doesn't matter when you're playing against keyboard cheaters. Exactly. And that's the problem on Fightcade. There's a lot of people that program their keyboards to do certain things, and they just have to hit one button.
That's
and
crazy.
They win. And that's why
that's cheating. Why it's so what do you think? Let me ask you guys this. Let me ask you and Zohar this. What do you think of the hitbox style ones, where instead of the joystick you just have the buttons? Because I think for someone like me, like, I have a hard time doing the inputs, like the half circles and that kind of thing. But if I can just do it, go like, downright jump or whatever, with buttons.
like you see on those, like you see on a lot of those cheap Chinese handhelds, where they doesn't have a D-pad, but it's got buttons instead.
So you've got your right hand on your 6 buttons here, but the left hand, instead of grabbing a joystick, you've got left, down, right, and then your thumb is up or jump.
Yeah.
And so you can put in the the commands that you would on a joystick using that. And the original ones, they were called hitboxes, but that's like saying Kleenex, right? But they have other brands, and I ordered one called a snack box. It's on back order. It'll be here in like a month, but I want to try it because I think for someone like me, I don't necessarily think it's cheating because you're still having to put in all those inputs. But for someone who's struggling to do like the half circles and the quarter circles and stuff, you can use the buttons to do that. And so I want to know if you think that is cheating because it's not using the original authentic controls. It's not like you're programming those buttons to do combos, though. That's different. Oh, Zohar says 100% cheating. So,
and
there you go.
And Mike here says hitbox can help for those that struggle with joystick inputs.
That's exactly what I'm getting.
That's
for,
what you were trying. That's what you were talking about.
Brad says
Brad says that's cheating as well.
I'm gonna make a video on it when I get it, just so you guys can give me all your feedback. That is Michael from iiRcade.
Yes, Michael from iiRcade. Hello, Michael. Good to see you. Good to see you in the chat. He says, I like to lurk while I code. That's awesome. Listen, I can't say enough positive things about iiRcade right now. My opinion has changed based on where it was initially, just due to, again, all the positivity. I love positivity. And when you have a platform that's built out of positivity, it continues to promote positivity. How can you hate on it? I just don't see how you can. Mike says here, @Games is an open platform for now. The success of iiRcade might dictate changes to future firmware if @Games decides to launch a game store, which I hope doesn't happen. I don't think they will, because you got to remember, @Games has been around a lot longer than iiRcade, and they've got a lot of licensed games. They've got tons of licensed games. They've got some good titles, but it's probably not worth it to them to do a game store when they can just tell you, just bring your own games. It just makes everything easier, which is why I made the point on one of Jeff's videos that maybe iiRcade could benefit from a bring your own game store. Not that I necessarily bring your own games, not that I necessarily think that they would or that they should, but just that maybe they would benefit from it from the perspective that it just provides another option for people. And I, so that's.
Well, I can put that one to rest real quick because I've talked to Jong about this, and he is 100% adamant, dead set. No bring your own game. No bring your own game. No piracy of any sort whatsoever. He is all about 100% legally licensed, fully licensed games. So I know some people want, they beg for that option. We want the bring your own game. It's not going to happen in iiRcade. So we'll just put that one to bed right there.
Yeah, Papa Brad says @Games can turn off precious coin ops with a line of code in the firmware. Sure, but then but then they can also come up with a way to make it so that you can play coin ops offline, because they've done it before, which is one of the things I find very funny about @Games. They give you the opportunity to bring your own games, but then they tell you have to be logged in. And so you essentially have to be logged on in order to access that feature, which to me kind of defeats the purpose, because if you just want to play a bunch of arcade games and you have an option to bring your own games like coin ops, it shouldn't really matter that if you're necessarily online or not, because you're not using any of their online features. So that's kind of weird to me. I think that's something that I think they do, because they still want you to be connected to their ecosystem, even if you're using something that's third party. And
it's
really,
a double-edged sword, right? If you don't want to play online, you should be able to just disconnect the online and just leave it in offline system.
Yeah. I mean, and that's kind of the way I look at Games. I mean, it's got that little puck, and if you don't have the actual Legends Ultimate or the Legends Ultimate Mini, whatever, I have the Legends Gamer Pro, and it's great because I hook the puck up to my TV and I play everything, and it's nice. But again, yeah, you have to be logged in to their online ecosystem in order to be able to use those features, which is
I
weird.
went,
But I mean, it's a condition, and if it's a condition they want to have, I guess it is what it is. But I don't
so
know.
I went over to my friend's house to play, and not for other reasons, but he had a Legends pinball machine, the At Games Legends pin, which
Okay.
everyone really likes that one, right?
Oh yeah.
And I'm
Definitely.
like, okay, I gotta try this. I have to play this so that I can experience it, so that I can at least talk a little bit intelligently about this, right?
Sure.
So I'm like, can I play your? He's like, well, yeah. Hold on, I gotta get it, going for you first. So he gets it turned on, and then he's got to sign in with a username and a password, and then now he's got to do a firmware update, and he's got to do all. And I'm just like, I'm sitting here and I'm going, this is ridiculous. Like before I even get my hands on the machine, like that's one thing you got to admit about the arcade one-ups and the iArcade is anybody that comes over to your house that's just like, oh, can I play your Final Fight machine? Sure. There's an on-off switch. You turn it on, and you're at a menu. You hit go on the game, and you play. It's not hard, but like, I was laughing. I'm like, this is ridiculous. All the hoops you have to jump through just to be able to show me one of these Gottlieb games that you have on your thing. It was ridiculous.
It's hard, and I've got one set of their pinball tables, because I'm not a pinball fan at all, but I wanted to see what all the fuss is about. So when they had a sale, I got one of their Tato pinball collections that came with like Space Invaders pinball and a couple others, and I wanted to try that out to see how that was. And it really was a weird experience, the pinball, because I don't have the pinball machine, but I got the At Games Legends Gamer Pro, and it's got the pinball buttons on the side, so you can do it if I want. But I'm also not going to take my 55-inch TV and turn it vertically so that I can have it as a pinball machine. It's a lot of either. So I'm playing it just horizontally, and I'm not. It's okay, but because I'm not a pinball fan and I don't really get what all the fuss is about with pinball, I was never really into pinball. The pinball that I have, the pinball collection that I have on there right now is enough for my lifetime. I have no desire to ever purchase any more pinball tables or anything. It's just kind of is what it is. What's up?
We got to stop talking about the ALP. We're getting haters now.
It's good to see you. It's good to see you, Mad Max, as always. Good to see you here. How's it going, man? Yeah, it really is. It's one of those things where with At Games, people have a love-hate relationship with At Games. It's really kind of one of those things. And like I said, I don't have anything against them, because to be honest with you, their buttons and sticks are of similar quality to iArcade. Their buttons and sticks are not bad as far as their controls are. I don't have to admit something. Really issues there.
I have to admit something though. Papa Brat's comment there. He says it's no Wizard of Oz. To be fair, before I went over and played on Tony's At Games Legends Pinball, I bought a Wizard of Oz Jersey Jack real pinball machine. So wow. My basis for comparison was a little bit skewed, I will have to admit. But yes, after playing the real thing, cream of the crop real thing, and then going and playing a virtual
pinball. Have you tried the 1-up version of pinball?
I haven't played those either, but
yeah, I haven't either. And I'm not, feeling. And again, I have no desire to either. And when I look at the prices on the pinball, it's like pinball is not something that you're going to get into if you're not already into it. You're not going to be able to convince anybody. Arcade games is one thing, but pinball, you either love pinball or you don't, and you are not going to, especially at the prices, at the kind of money that they're forcing you to invest. I'll tell you what pinball game I like playing. I like playing on Oculus in virtual reality, Star Wars pinball. That's fun because I'm in VR and I'm in like a Star Wars themed playroom, and I got these real cool Star Wars pinball games. But that's about the extent of it. I can't see anybody investing in that. And I don't know. And again, since I've been picking on Michael B all night, we'll use him again. I don't know how many pinball machines Michael B has, but I mean,
I don't know if he has any real ones.
I hear him talk about pinball a lot, so I don't know if he's got a large collection either.
Well, the reason that I went with the pinball machine is my brother-in-law had a taxi pinball, and so my wife fell in love with pinball by playing his, and she wanted to get a pinball machine, and I tried to get her to go with the ALP. I'm like, hey, everyone seems to like this. We can get a Legends pinball. It's a virtual pin. You can play a whole bunch. She's like, no, it's got to be the real thing. And so she was actually the one that was like, no, we want the real thing, the real pinball. And so I said, well, if we're going to do it, let's get a newer one that's probably not going to break down on us as much, and let's just go big or go home. And ultimately what sold me on it was the economy right now and the inflation that we're seeing with the dollar. I looked at it and I said, these things only go up in value. This is not like driving your car off the parking lot and you lose value, and I told the same thing to Retro Ralph when he got 2 pinball machines. He's trying to figure out which one to keep. I said, keep them both. And then 2 years from now, sell one of them because it'll be worth $3,000 more.
Yeah.
You're gaining value. It's an investment.
The value is incredible, and especially with people getting into buying real arcade machines versus the ones from any other home arcade, from any home arcade company right now. Dat Dude Vent says, I like the Williams pinball game on the old consoles. Can't remember which console it was on. I think the Williams one, was on PlayStation, original PlayStation, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so. It was on a few different consoles. PlayStation. I think you can get it on like the OG Xbox too. So.
And Console Fanboy is a smart man. I don't use Oculus for games. Well, all I'm going to say is if you know, you know. And that's all. That's as far as we're going to go with Oculus, because
I know exactly what he does with it. He goes on YouTube and watches misclick videos on his Oculus, and then that's as far as we'll say there.
In VR. Okay. Papa Brad David says, go play pinball on location at Free Play Arcade. So much fun. Pinballs are holding or going up in value. Yeah. Everything is going up in value now. Again, like you were just talking about inflation, where this is why pretty soon you're going to be spending $2,500 for an arcade 1-up. I'm sorry, but we're headed there.
Didn't they just announce that's a new price for the Pro line?
Okay. No, I gotta get your honest opinion on this, Jeff.
Okay.
Because for me, I'm out when it comes to Pro line or anything like that. Anything over. Listen, I thought when tastemakers first started putting out their arcades back a few short years ago, I think it was 2018. Thought it was cute when I saw the first Pac-Man, and it was like what, $299, $350 maybe. Oh, it's cute, it's nice, right? But now you start looking at where they're going, and you start looking at the prices, and you start looking at you start seeing cabinets that start at $500 and then go up as high as $800. You start saying to yourself, well, now it's a financial decision. So now I'm not going to be so quick to put it in the cart at this point, because when you start talking about $700, $800 for a toy, essentially for an toy arcade, you're talking about something that you would, like a household appliance. Money that can be spent on something that you really need, like maybe a refrigerator or something of some kind of that's going to be of lasting value that you really need, versus an arcade that you're just going to put in your house and have to deal with all these issues, sound issues and glitches and things. I feel like the value ends at a certain point. At
Well, if you're
least
going
for
to
me.
spend that much, at least you should expect that you're not going to break the joystick,
Yeah.
have sound issues, have
Yeah.
glitches. I
Yeah.
mean, you should
I
expect
mean,
some quality for that price
I
at least.
feel bad for every single person who bought that glorified Nightlight Tron cabinet. And the reason I feel bad for people is because so many of these people, their spinner broke, their sticks broke, they had sound issues, they had something else they had to go through, and then they have to go through Arcade One Up to get it replaced. I'll tell you this. I had an issue when I first got my iArcade, and my father put my iArcade bar top together, and I will be forever grateful because I don't like putting that stuff together. I hate that. It's the bane of my existence. I don't like it. He put it together for me, and I had a problem where I plugged in the power and it didn't work. It turned out I had a faulty snake, that little piece at the back, the little piece on the back that connects to the power on the inside and connects to the power cord so you could plug it in. I had a faulty snake. I communicated with iArcade that day. In less than a week, they sent me out a new snake. And they knew exactly what the issue was when I told them. They have some of the best customer service I've ever seen in my life. They knew exactly
And
what
a
my
1-year
problem was.
warranty too. A 1-year
the
warranty.
the best. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I'm like, I went to them and I didn't even have to. It's not like I did. I went to the chat on the and I even tweeted about it, but I don't think iArcade saw it because they had me on block. But
What did you do so bad to get
well,
blocked on Twitter?
I was very on Twitter. I was very critical of them in the beginning.
Okay.
I really was. I was critical. I was questioning. Again, and my mentality was it's like buying a PS5 to play 2,600 games. So that was where I was at the time. I didn't know. I was ignorant at the time, and and like I said, but this is what it is. You grow as a human being, and when you learn, the more you know by learning and by experience. It's much different when you actually have an iArcade in front of you, because it's easy to talk all kinds of mess when you've never had any experience with the arcade and making all these qualified statements where you think you're right about something and you don't know what you're talking about. But when you actually have the machine in front of you and you're actually able to experience it yourself, and you have the foresight to see what they're doing and what they're going for in the future, you don't feel that way anymore. You realize it's like, if I got a choice of buying Shredder's Revenge on the iArcade or on the PlayStation 4, I'm going to buy it for the iArcade because it's going to be a more arcade-like experience for me. So, I mean,
And I think and I'm not just saying this because I'm a fanboy of iArcade, but like if you really like these 3/4 scale arcades, you like arcade 1-ups. I've got a bunch of them, but you've never played on an iArcade before. Try it.
yes.
Because I guarantee you, from the minute that you open that box and you go, wow, look at the care that they took in the packaging of this. Look at the quality of the product.
That was something that my father and I talked about at length. He's like, look at how great they package everything.
Yeah.
It's all itemized. You know exactly what goes where. You have this here, this here.
Very telling.
It was
The
really
care that
nice,
they put into
really
this.
wonderful. And so I'm saying this now. They have some of the best customer service I've ever seen of any company. I mean, it's just, and they're just so on point about it. And like, they know what goes wrong. They know what you might need. They know what your issue. It's unbelievable. It's fantastic. And then by contrast, you look at what's going on over at Tastemakers, and you see people saying, well, it might be the PCB. It might be the speakers. It might be this. It might be that. My stick broke. My spinner broke. My buttons are trash. And you see all the pitfalls that people have to go through to get things fixed, to get things replaced, to get whatever they need. Arcade 1-Up, Tastemakers, they don't make it easy. And
And we've conditioned people to think that as soon as you buy an arcade 1-up, it's required that you have to upgrade things, right?
Oh,
Glenn,
thank you for bringing that up.
He has a replacement for the Star Wars for the yoke. Have you ever heard anyone complain about the yoke? Like at this point, people are so brainwashed into thinking when I buy it, I have to upgrade everything, that when they actually do get one that has something that's nothing's wrong with that yoke, why do you need to upgrade to Glenn's yoke? What is different about it? It's just we've all got it in our head that I got to upgrade everything as soon as I get it.
And what this tells you, Jeff, is immediately you're not just spending $700-800 on the iArcade.
Bingo.
Because now you have to factor in those automatic updates, the hapsticks, the buttons. You're talking about easily spending at least another $100 easily. And that dude Vince,
why do I have this? Why do I have this? I should be able to play this thing without this.
No.
But I've purchased this. Now I gotta become an electrician, by the way. And I'm not trying to dig on the quality of workmanship from 99 Lives Arcade. I'm sure this is great once I do it, but this is
should have went with Bobby Voo.
I'm like, yeah, maybe. I don't
know. That's all I'm getting there.
Anxiety looking at these chords, but I feel like
it's
I got to do
all
this to make it playable.
It's like all the people that complain about Arcade Mod Up. Why would you buy anything from there? Just say. I don't know. I don't know why people would bother.
I should be able to just put this together, what's in the box, and play. But the controls are garbage. They're garbage. And how much do you spend? Now, granted, I got that for $250, but some people spent $400, $500, $600 on it. And then they turn right around and have to buy something like that to upgrade it to where it's playable. The iArcade, by contrast, out of the box, you don't have to upgrade anything. This has got Sandwalk controls.
Nice controls.
Great
I love the controls.
Monitor.
I love the button. And that's another thing. And after I read that dude Vince's comment here, I'll mention this part. If I'm new to home arcades but want something I can add stuff to that doesn't completely suck, what do you recommend? Well, if you want to be able to add your own stuff, then you're probably better off. The most cost-effective option right now would be getting the AtGames Legends Gamer. Well, no, the AtGames Legends Ultimate Mini. That would be the one I would recommend if you want a home arcade where you can add stuff. You could bring your own games like Coin Ops or whatever, and you want to be able to do that. But if you're looking for something that you want to invest in the future and you want to look at something that's building towards greatness and may end up having some of the greatest games we've ever seen on an arcade machine, you might want to go with an iArcade, because I guarantee you, out of the 300 plus games they've got right now, you'll find at least 50 games that you'll want to play. I highly recommend an iArcade. And I'm not just saying that. I'm taking into account everything that people are saying and everything that I've experienced with owning one myself, and everything Jeff here is saying. If that's the experience you want, I highly recommend it. Otherwise, for bringing your own games, the AtGames option is pretty good. Also, an MVSX, if you like the from Unico, the MVSX Neo Geo, if you like Neo Geo games, they have the 50 games out of the box, and then you also have the option to use the high-low hack, and you can add, basically every Neo Geo game that ever came out can be added. And then you can also add, the Capcom Play system, as well as some other arcade games. And I will say this for the MVSX. If you want to play Simpsons the way it was meant to be played, MVSX all the way, baby, because the MVSX plays The Simpsons better than the arcade 1-up does. There's no sound issues. There's no weird graphical glitches. There's no strange delays or
No
anything.
thumb gate, was it?
No thumb gate. Listen, you're set. If you want to play The Simpsons, that's the system to get.
I would recommend one other one too. If you're not specifically looking for the arcade experience, like joysticks and arcade buttons, but you just want to be able to play ROMs, I would recommend the Retrobit Retrocade, I think it's called. It's a little white box about this big, and you can put ROMs on that. It'll emulate them perfecly. They're like maybe 50 or 60 bucks.
These handhelds are fantastic too. These little handhelds that play everything. If you want something on the go for that kind of form factor, that's a great recommendation as well. Console Fanboy says he was friends with me, Jeff. That's why we were both blocked. Oh yeah, talking about iArcade. Yeah. But the thing I want to say, because you mentioned about the quality of the iArcade, and you mentioned the speakers, and I've mentioned the speakers a lot tonight. I love the speakers. The speakers is not something I feel like iArcade needed to upgrade. So when you guys out there, if you're still in there, Mike, when you guys made the announcement about partnering with JBL for better speakers, I nearly fell off the couch.
I did too. I'm like,
here's what I'm saying. I'm going to say right now, you guys have the greatest speakers, the greatest sound of any arcade on the market right now. I've never heard sound this rich. I've never heard sound this good. And like I said, I've been using Jukebox to use these speakers to double when I'm watching movies. I like to have these speakers playing because the sound is so good. It's rich. I
feel like we went to a car show and we saw like a Bugatti Veyron booth, and they said, "Here's our Bugatti Veyron," and we just thought it wasn't quite fast enough. Like, make it even faster.
Like that's one area that if you guys were looking to improve,
they were already dominating.
That's one area. That's one area nobody was complaining about. I don't hear anybody saying, iArcade could really benefit from better speakers. Yeah, these speakers are too damn loud. I don't hear anybody complaining about it at all. The one thing, and that's why I was just shocked when I saw JBL. I'm like, but why? You guys, I thought you just guys weren't telling anybody, and you put like Bose speakers or something in there. I was like, where's
Papa Brad? He says, Jong has an audio fetish. They will have the best sounding arcade, period. And you know what? The reason for that is Jong used to be a DJ. He actually used to DJ at like clubs and stuff. And so that was part of the reason he's a big audiophile. He loves, it's all about the sound.
I love audio too. I've got,
if he can take it up to 11, he will,
home theater headphones for when I want to listen to stuff and it's just as good as if I was in a movie theater. But the point I'm making here is that, your iArcade is not it does not need a sound upgrade, because I don't know what the brand of speakers that's in there now is, but they're pretty good. I could not imagine anybody switching out the speakers. So when I heard they were partnering with JBL for the next generation of iArcades, I just shook my head like, oh, that was unnecessary. Like, I legitimately felt like it was.
I don't know if Michael is still.
It kind of hurt my feelings a little bit, because I'm like, well, gee, I've been telling everybody how great these speakers are. I mean, you guys.
Now they're upgrading them. Well, okay, so check this out. So I don't know if Michael's still in the chat, but he mentioned this on our show at CES. They were announcing that as part of the new cabinets that they had the JBL partnership, and everybody was like, "Yeah, the sound is great." Rexer went and saw it, and all the people they went and looked at it, and they're like, "Yeah, this sounds amazing," and all this. They didn't even have the upgrade in it yet. Like, the JBL sound was not even. There was still the old speakers, the old amp, the old sound, and people thought it sounded amazing.
The fact that they would call these speakers old, by any stretch of the imagination. You know how many sound and speaker issues people have with their arcade one-ups, particularly with every single one of these new releases that have come out so far. Terminator 2, Killer Instinct,
They're
The
always having sound
Simpsons,
problems.
just
Yeah.
to name a few, of the most recent $700 cabinets. I don't understand. Like when I see what iArcade is able to do as far as construction, as far as hardware, as far as what they've been able to accomplish, and like console fanboy here says, $700 for one game or $600 for 300 plus games available to you. You know, if whatever you want, you pick and choose what you want. You got 11 games right out of the box. I don't know. I think what Arcade One Up should do is Arcade One Up should pay iArcade for their speakers, because I think they could pay them for sound, and then iArcade can afford bigger licenses.
So listen, look, it feels like we're crapping all over Arcade One Up tonight, but I just want to point out I actually have 7 Arcade One Ups.
Being factual,
I have 7
because
I'm not an Arcade One Up hater.
We're being objectively truthful here. We're being objectively truthful,
right? But
there's nothing that I'm saying that is not true.
I think we're trying to get across here, and maybe it feels like we're being haters or whatever on Arcade One Up, but what we're trying to get across is there's this double standard, right?
Yes,
where it feels like they hold one company to a standard and not the other one, or vice versa, and it's and that's where it's just kind of like, come on, guys, you know, you like they come out with a Dragon's Lair, they're going to praise it and be like, oh, you're amazing, but
that's
Arcade does it, and it's like
that's what I'm waiting for, Jeff. Because when Michael B does his review of Arcade One Up's Dragon's Lair, that's when I'm going to come out with a counter video, and be like, okay. And then I'm going to pull out the iArcade, and I'm going to show.
But the iArcade set the bar.
The real version of Dragon's Lair. I don't need the cabinet to look like Dragon's Lair to enjoy Dragon's Lair. And you guys are buying these because you say they look authentic. Listen, Tron is a crappy game. Let's face it. It's garbage.
It did not age well.
You spent all that money. You could have bought a lot with that. Hell, you could have bought a better One Up for the cost you paid for Tron. You could have bought
I would buy a Tron cabinet if I saw a $99 deal.
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't even for $99.
I would just buy a neon nightlight like console fanboy and put it up there and say,
get those on Amazon for $29.99.
Tron. Yeah, I mean, no. You know what you do? You put your Tron nightlight. You turn on your Tron nightlight, and then you hook up your Act Games coin ops, and you sit there and you play Tron. Done. You're good. Play Tron for the 30 seconds that you're gonna play it. And then exit out and never go back into it, because guess what? That's exactly what these people are doing. They got this beautiful Tron cabinet, and I would bet you dollars to donuts that nobody even touches it. It sits there. Michael B's Tron cabinet is sitting there collecting so much dust, it probably has cobwebs on it right now.
Case in point, go back and watch how many episodes of the iArcadians that I've had this Mortal Kombat Legacy sitting in front of these other cabinets. It's probably all 10 episodes, actually. So that just goes to show you how often I can get back there and play those ones, because I've got this one in the way, right? So how often do I play those? I don't know, but I spent an entire weekend playing Truxton last week.
It's not an acquired taste, because here's the thing, Papa Brad. If you play the game enough, and if you are somebody that likes Tron, you play Tron for about 2 weeks, and then your stick breaks or your spinner breaks, and then try again.
The best Tron is the one where you go to an arcade with $2 in quarters, and you play it for $2, and then you walk away knowing that you enjoyed all there is to know about Tron,
and you
for
could
$2.
And you could at least play it with the authentic controls.
And if you break it, you just walk away.
But Bobby, you're unique, man. You're a pro. you're legit. You're legit 1000%. We can't even put you in the same category as the rest of us. So I can totally see, because if you have problems with your Tron, you'll just mod it. You'll just
custom make a new control stick, or
make a new control station for it, and there won't be any problems with it. So for you, I totally.
You gotta look at this, but the games are
trash. Exactly, it's trash. It's trash. Listen, I tried to play Tron on CoinOps X. I have, at games, and I played it on CoinOps X. I played it for, I want to say, a total of 15 seconds, and I realized that it was not the game for me. Now, here's the thing. Now, if iiRcade came out with Tron and they were selling it for $2.99, I'd probably buy it just to have it on the cab, just for jokes, just to be able to pull it up and be like, yeah, look at this piece of crap. But I wouldn't buy it to actually play it. I'd buy it as a joke.
Well, you bring up a good point, because there's a category of games where you're willing to spend $3, $5, $10 or whatever for just the game, but maybe you don't want to spend hundreds on a full-on cab. You just don't like it that much.
Right.
There's a line there. Whereas some games are good enough where you're like, I want a dedicated cab just for that.
This is it. This is it right here too. Bobby is speaking the language of what
he bought the nightlight. He bought it for the nightlight.
I use it as a decoration in my game room. Exactly. I rest my case. You buy it because it looks pretty, and there are some cabinets that fall into that category, but not all 57 of the ones that Michael B has. Okay,
I like Michael B. Just for the record.
You're not going to tell me that every single one of those cabs looks fantastic, because not every single one of them does. And it took Michael B. all this time to finally get an MVSX. I don't know what he was waiting for. Here's the thing I don't get about Michael B. I'm like, okay,
the Illuminati leadership would not allow him to do that.
But even Arcade 1-Up's licensing guy, John D. himself, owns an MVSX.
You got to check out the competition.
So I don't know what took.
He's got an arcade too.
So long. I love this comment. I mean, my God. And then Papa Brad's Gaming says, play Tron on a real arcade cab or not at all. Yeah, that's why I don't understand why people would buy. It's like anything that has like specific special type controls, as specific and as unique to that machine as the Tron cabinet. I'll never understand why you would trust 1-Up. That's why so many people I've watched so many YouTube videos of people being angry. I've only been playing Tron for 2 weeks and I've barely been playing it. My stick is already broken. And then I tried to go back to it last Thursday and my spinner broke. Well, what do you expect? It's tastemakers.
Well, that is one thing.
An authentic, commercial grade arcade.
So that is one thing that I would say Arcade 1-Up has over iiRcade is the quote unquote the authentic style stuff. So, but here's the thing: if you're gonna do it, you got to do it right. Like, look at Terminator 2. Like, they came out with a T2 cabinet, and it's something like, okay, so iiRcade doesn't have that because they don't have guns on their light guns and stuff on their thing. So Arcade 1-Up could do it. But look how they did it. They just got squirt guns with a cord. It's like, what are you doing?
Squirt guns with a cord, and they're multicolored, and then to top it off, all people have been complaining about the sound issues and emulation issues. I've never heard so many complaints. I mean, and this is what you get for buying a cabinet at that price with one game on it.
I would praise them for it, honestly, if they did it right. But there's so many things that they did not do right on that. And it's like, what do you want us to say?
Yeah.
If you're going to, I like the idea of the different kind of controls, the having like a racing wheel or a yoke or, spinners and track balls and guns and stuff. But if you're going to do it different like that, do it do it justice. Don't man, I feel bad.
Amen.
Like the people that got a Terminator 2 cab that thought they were getting something
Arcade
close.
authenticity. Isn't
Not
that
even
the
close.
reason? Isn't that the excuse that everybody uses?
Exactly.
But son, it's authentic. It has Arnold Schwarzenegger on the side of the cabinet. Dude, it is not authentic. Those guns are not supposed to move. You're actually better off playing Terminator 2 on an Act Games cabinet with regular controls, because at least the sticks don't come out of the grooves. You can actually I don't get it. I don't get it at all. So when
I'm not saying it's easy to do, right? A lot of times when you scale stuff down to 3/4 scale, it's hard, because then now you've got the guns are going to hit each other. The screen isn't going to be big, and I get it. There's challenges, but then don't do it. You're not going to do it right.
Here's my problem. You're paying that kind of money for Terminator 2, one game. That cabinet should be the most authentic cabinet ever. It should have a perfect marquee, not the washed out crap that P-Dubs got. It should actually have actually been a perfect replica of the original Terminator 2. You get that Terminator 2 license, you got no excuse not to make it look like the real cap. And why couldn't they make it with docked black guns like the original cap?
Yeah, I don't understand why they couldn't do that.
What are you doing? What is with the squirt gun thing? I don't understand. So people are like,
that had to have been an expensive license, and they're kicking themselves for making such garbage out of it.
That's what I'm saying. Eventually,
are they going to have a pro version of it where they get it right now?
There'll be a countercade with little mini squirt guns. I'm to the point where I looked at that Terminator 2 and I'm like, you've got to be out of your mind. And yet, it all goes back for me to Dragon's Lair on iiRcade. How do you justify spending that kind of money on Terminator 2 when it's, number one, it's not authentic, number two, it's riddled with issues, and number three, it's the same kind of crap you always get from Arcade 1-Up? So what makes you think that Dragon's Lair is going to be any better? What makes you think Dragon's Lair is going to somehow be closer to the arcade than the version you can already play on an iiRcade?
I'm going to throw this out there because I have not heard anyone make this speculation yet. I don't think that's the last we've seen of Terminator 2 from Arcade 1-Up. I think we're going to see either an XL or a Pro version of Terminator 2 where they improve on some of these things. Better sound, bigger screen, fixed, guns that are not orange and blue. I think they're going to upgrade some of this stuff because they spent so much money on that license. I don't know how much it was. I'm not going to pretend to know how much it was, but it couldn't have been cheap. And do you think that they made that money back on that? I don't think so. I think it was a big failure for the Terminator 2 that they did launch. And I think they're going to try and recoup that by making another better cabinet. And maybe that was their plan all along.
That's possible, but
maybe they intended, let's not make a perfect one out the gate.
I just don't get the allure. So if this is what they're doing, and this is evidenced by how they've handled other cabinets in the past, I don't know why people keep buying into it. That's the thing I don't get. At some point, your consumer base is going to be looking at you like, okay, fool me once, fool me twice. It's like, come on, man.
Because they have a group of people, and I'm not gonna put a name to this little club of people, but they have a group of people who promote their product, and they make people get FOMO. They make people want to buy them. They have a group of people that go out there and they try to figure out how much people will pay for these. They do polls. I'm not making any names. I'm just saying. They do these polls and they say, would you be willing to pay $7.99 for this cab? Or $8.99 for this cab? And they're doing this market research for the company. It's like, they're trying to $2.99. What?
I just
These guys, they've tricked us all.
I don't. But see, and then the progression.
Shmooma potty, says console fanboy.
The price progression where it just gets more and more like obnoxious. Like I said, pretty soon, I would not be surprised if Killer Instinct Pro is $1,500. It wouldn't surprise me at this point. I'm calling it right here. I'm just saying it's going to be $1,500 when it goes.
Michael threw some, and I don't know if he wanted me to share this, but you remember the iArcade you can get in 64 or 128 for the gigabytes, right?
Yeah.
It used to be, I can't remember what he said the exact amount, but it's like 10 times more now to upgrade that than it was when they originally were doing that.
Oh, okay.
So the costs, so to be fair, costs are getting more expensive. It used to
absolutely. Yeah.
It used to be much cheaper to do that upgrade. Now it's like 10 times more. So they're even like going like, gosh, it's going to cost us an arm and a leg in the newer cabinets to do this upgrade. I'm sure Arcade 1-Up is going through that same thing too.
Then my first question and my first response to that with relation to iArcade is, why partner with JBL? Why spend that extra money in an area that you do not need to upgrade? And
I will tell you why.
Need.
And there's a perfectly reasonable reason for this. iArcade wants to have the highest quality product that they have because you buy it once.
Oh, yeah.
And then that same experience translates to every game that they sell to you. Arcade 1-Up is selling you each individual cabinet, and they're not selling you add-on games later. So they make 100% of their profit in that initial sale. So it's more important for Arcade 1-Up if they can save a couple of bucks by giving you garbage buttons, for instance, and people go, but for $5 more, you could. Well, it's because they have to make 100% of their profit on that particular sale.
That's a great point. And to be fair, Arcade 1-Up does put out some very pretty cabinets, to be fair.
Yeah.
They put out some very good looking machines, but when it turns out to just be expensive furniture, case in point Tron, where it's just sitting there and it's just it looks nice in your game room, but if you're not playing it, that kind of investment to me is an extreme waste. And based on the fact that the parts break so soon, if you play it with any regularity, that's an issue too. Michael Light says Bobby just builds his own Flynn's arcade. Oh, exactly. He's got it. He's got everybody. He's got everybody beat. Console Fanboy says it's really weird. I played Tron for like 2 minutes and my eyes started to bleed. I don't know why. So weird. Some people love Tron. Yeah, but when you invest that kind of money, don't you want a quality product? If you love Tron, yeah, it looks pretty, but you want to be able to play it. You want to be able to enjoy it for years to come. You don't want to have to worry about the parts breaking and then have to keep going to Arcade 1-Up. I need a new PCB. I need a new stick. I need a new spinner. I need new speakers. No. For that kind of money, it should be a good, solid product like the iArcade right out of the box. And if you need something small, like what I needed with the snake issue that I had, customer service should be right on it and be like, okay, we can send that out to you. I don't get the problem. It's.
And I like what he has to say. He says sometimes good partnership opportunities just pop up and you got to jump on them. I can say as someone who isn't an audiophile, even the sound by JBL makes an insane difference. So they didn't need to do that. They didn't need to partner with JBL, but they did. And because you know what? They just like, why not? Let's take it to the next level. Make it even better. If they're gonna,
like I said, Michael, I've been using iArcade's been doubling for me as a pair of home theater speakers through the Bluetooth, through the jukebox. And I gotta say, it's fantastic. I mean,
I can't wait to hear what the difference is with this new sound.
Sound can you imagine? Rich and perfect. I can't imagine it being any better. The human ear can only process so much high quality audio. So for me, I'm kind of just like, like when they went from like 2.0 to 5.1 to 7.1, eventually you're getting to a point where the human ear can only discern the difference on so many levels. After a while, it's just like with visuals too. Like the human eye can only process so much over 4K. Eventually, you're going to get to the point when you get up to about 8K, you've kind of reached the apex of the human eye. You're really not going to be able
Right.
to
It's like you think about the colors in heaven
right.
are going to be colors that you can't even you can't even imagine. It's the same kind of thing. But yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I remember sitting down and like in Best Buy or whatever, and you listen to like the Bose surround sound stuff, and just being blown away, like how amazing it sounded. And you're like, this is crazy. Like, yeah, but uh, yeah. So anyway, hey Zod, I can't be too much longer. I'm keeping my kids
Yeah,
awake. But
we're about to wrap this up. This has gone longer than I normally go anyway. Usually I try to keep it under 2 hours or just slightly over. So we're gonna go ahead and kind of wrap things up. Get to the final thoughts here.
We have to hold him to this now. He said he's buying another iArcade.
He's gonna buy another one, so we'll see how long he keeps it. Hopefully by then Shredder's Revenge will be out or something, because this has been good stuff. And Michael says it's great now, but it can always be better. And see, this is why I love iArcade. Again,
Shoot for the moon.
What were we talking about? The future. That's what we were talking about. So Jeff, I want to thank you for being here. You've been a tremendous guest. I can't wait to have you on again at an earlier time. We'll talk about some even more great stuff.
Absolutely.
This has been fantastic.
And happy birthday to you, Zod.
Thank you so much for that. And to everybody in the chat, thank you for all those generous super chats and for being here and for joining me and Jeff on one of the greatest late night Q&A episodes I've ever done. This has been so much fun. I don't know, I don't really know what else to say except Console Fanboy says, dude, one of your greatest shows, Zod. Good stuff, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks, dude.
And I'm gonna go ahead and end tonight's show. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great night.